Hey, Mama, and welcome back to For Moms, a Safe Space. I'm your host, Simone, and I'm so glad you're here. Last time on For Moms, a Safe Space, we talked about finding joy in the middle of the messy seasons, celebrating the little moments, and remembering that motherhood isn't all bad. Sometimes it is pure magic. So if you haven't had the chance yet, I suggest you go back and listen to episode 15. It's a very good episode. Now today, we're talking about parenting while healing from your own childhood. Because let's be honest, parenting is hard as it is. But when you're trying to heal from your own childhood wounds, it can feel like you're rewriting a story while living in the middle of it. You're learning how to be the parent you needed while also figuring out what that even looks like in real life. Some of us are parenting without a model for healthy love. Some of us are still working through trauma, neglect, or a childhood where we didn't feel safe or seen. And now, we have these little ones looking up at us, depending on us, and triggering feelings we didn't even know were still there. This episode isn't about blaming our parents. It's about acknowledging the impact of our past, giving ourselves grace, and choosing how we want to break these cycles. So let's talk about it. Before you can change anything, you have to name it. Maybe your childhood was filled with instability. Or maybe it looked perfect on the outside, but lacked emotional connection. Maybe you had to grow up too fast, take care of your siblings, or manage your parents' emotions. Maybe there was abuse, addiction, or mental illness that shaped how you saw yourself in the world. Naming what you experienced isn't about staying stuck in the past. It's about being honest with yourself so you can be intentional moving forward. You see, our past can sneak into our parenting in ways we don't expect. Feeling extra anxious about your child's safety. This is something that I experience, especially now that my son is middle school age and he is going to the bus stop on his own. He's standing out waiting for the bus on his own. And as a mom, I'm like freaking out, I'm like, it's okay. Is he okay? Did he make it to the bus stop okay? Like, is the bus going to come? Are people like noticing him? Are people paying him any attention? Like, are people paying attention to his routines? Like, what if something happens to him? And so I find myself, I wake up, I'm waiting for his text, and then I'm waiting for the text that says he got on the bus. And if I don't get the text that says he got on the bus, I'm checking his location. And then if I see like his location is moving, I'll text him like, hey, are you on the bus? And then he'll say, yeah, Mom, I'm sorry, I forgot to text you. That's an anxious feeling in today's climate as well. With everything that's going on in the world, you can't help but to be anxious about your child's safety. You have the school shootings that are happening. Now you're afraid to send your kids to school because you don't know if they're going to get shot. When we were kids, our drills were fire drills, maybe a shelter in place, but never an active shooter drill. And that's normal now for kids in school. And then you have the overcompensating with gifts, activities, or never saying no because you want them to have more than you did. This is something I have experienced as well. This is something that I have done as well. I do overcompensate in some areas. I do know how to say no. However, for me, it may show up like when I'm grocery shopping, right? So growing up, my parents would grocery shop, but they bought the things that they wanted to buy. And very rarely could I pick out something that I wanted. and it was pretty much, oh, you're going to just eat what we have. And that's what it is. For me, I do allow my kids to pick out things that they like. I do allow them to, go down the aisle and see, okay, well, what do you want? What would you like to have? What do you want to get for yourself? I do allow that for my kids because that wasn't necessarily something that I got to do as a kid. And I'm also not that parent who forces my kids to eat something that they don't like. And I know we have all been there. Eat your peas, eat your carrots. I can't stand those two things because, again, I was forced to eat them as a child. And it was, you eat what I cook or you don't eat anything at all. I am not that parent. If I cook a meal and neither one of my kids want to eat it, fine. Find something else to eat then. If you decide you want to eat a waffle, cool with me. If you're going to make yourself some ramen, some oodles and noodles as we call it, cool with me. You'll make yourself a bowl of oatmeal. That's fine because guess what? They ate. There's something on their stomach and they're not going to bed hungry. So I do that. I do find myself being that parent. Like, okay, I'm going to allow my child to make some decisions within reason because that wasn't something that I got to do necessarily. And then you may struggle with patience when your child's big emotions remind you of times you weren't allowed to have your own. Who can relate to fix your face? What you crying for? You have nothing to cry about. Telling someone that they can't express their emotions is insane to me. And yes, sometimes I do get frustrated with my youngest son because he will express his emotions. He's only 2 years old. Yes, his language is picking up, but he still can't say like, Mom, XYZ. So how does it show up? Whining and crying. And I'll tell him, okay, let's stop crying. Let's wipe your tears. Calm down. Relax. But it's hard because you want to say, oh, fix your face. Stop crying. Stop that crying. You want to say that because that's what was said to you, but you're struggling to really put yourself in a different place and not be that person. So then you have to find other ways to get your child to stop crying. So one thing that I did yesterday, he was upset. He wanted something in the kitchen. I can't remember what it was, but I asked him, I said, go have a seat on the couch. He sat down and he was crying. And I said, okay. You're fine. Let's relax. So I started asking him questions. I said, where's your eyes? And through tears, right there. Where's your nose? Right there. Where's your mouth? Right there. And then the crying slowly stopped because I had distracted him from whatever he was crying about and made him point out his different body parts. And then he calmed down. Sometimes you avoid having certain conversations because they feel too close to home. And those different conversations where, you may ask your child, well, what's going on in school? And then your child may start to tell you something that maybe you're not that comfortable with discussing with them, right? Because when you were younger, that wasn't discussed with you. But you have to break that cycle and understand that these are conversations you have to have with your kids, even though they may feel awkward. Sometimes I say, I'm not adult enough for this conversation. And my son, he'll laugh at me. And it's true. I'm not adult enough. Like I'm an adult, but I'm not an adult, if that makes sense. And so I'll try my hardest. I'll try my best. I'm not just going to shut you down and not talk to you. No, not at all. It's important to understand these reactions aren't failures. They're signs that you're human and that you're still in the process of healing. So, one of my girlfriends called me last week and she needed to vent to me about some things she was going through with her kids. Now, she has 5 kids, and 3 of her kids she had when she was young. And so her oldest children sometimes feel that the younger ones are treated differently, and obviously it causes them to be a little bit jealous. However, despite her being open and honest and transparent about not being the greatest mom at times, it seems like they still struggle to let go of the blame they place on her for how they are now. Now, it's a difficult truth, but let's talk about it. Yes, your younger kids might receive different treatment. And why is that? Because you're in a different place now, and you know better. And you've learned from your past mistakes, and that's okay. What matters is that you're doing your best, and they're seeing you evolve. A lot of people fail to understand parenting, and it's simply because they're not parents themselves, right? And there are a few major things that I say you have to experience yourself before you can comment and understand what a person is going through. And that's marriage, divorce, becoming a parent, losing a parent. Those are 4 major things in life that until you experience, you don't understand and you have no clue. And so for her oldest daughter comments on her parenting to her youngest kids. And in the most respectful way, you need to mind your business because you are not their mother. I am. I gave birth to you, and I gave birth to them as well. But how I parent them is none of your business because you are not their mother. Now, yes, she has admitted, she could have been better when they were younger, when her kids were younger. She could have been better. But I had to stress to her, you didn't know. You didn't know. Because parenting doesn't come with a manual. Parenting doesn't come with a script. So you can't be hard on yourself for doing the best that you could with what you had because you didn't know. You're doing the work now. You're righting your wrongs. And that's what matters. And if your kids can't see that you are trying to grow and evolve, that's not on you. That's on them. Always remember, when you acknowledge something, when you apologize to someone, that apology is not for that person. That apology is for you. And what they do with it is on them. Thank you for your story, honey. I really appreciate you. And as we talked about, it's going to be okay. Yes, you are treating your younger kids differently, but that's because you know better and you are in a different season of your life where you have learned how to be a better mother. And that's okay. Our first kids are generally our test kids. Why? Because it's our first kid. And we have no clue what we're doing. And you are literally learning as you go. So yes, your older kid is going to see a different version of you. And then when you have your next kid, depending on the age difference, you may be better. For me, my sons are 9.5 years apart, pretty much 10 years apart. And there are things that I am doing differently with my smallest one than I did with my oldest one. But when I look back and I compare the two, they're on the same track. Like my youngest is on the same track as my oldest was at this age. So then I sit back and I say, okay, maybe I am doing something right. Maybe I do have this parenting thing down pat. But one major difference between my oldest and my youngest is that with my oldest, I took my oldest out a lot. I took him to different places a lot. But now with my youngest, it's like sporadically. I'll take him places, I'll do things. And that's because, number one, the way the world is now. And number two, I'm older now. And I don't have that same energy that I had when my oldest was younger. I was in my 20s when he was a baby. I'm in my 30s now. And 30s is different, okay? I may think in my head that I'm still in my 20s, but baby, the body says 30s, okay? But that's okay. Again, you learn, you grow, you evolve. And it's important to not let your past mistakes interfere with that growth. So, it's possible to break cycles while still figuring yourself out, right? You can learn your triggers. Notice when your reactions feel bigger than the moment and ask yourself, is this about now or about then? Practice self-compassion. You will mess up. You will have days where you react in ways you wish you didn't. The fact that you care enough to try again is huge. Create rituals of safety and connection. Little things like consistent bedtime routines, I love you notes, or family dinners that create stability, even if you didn't grow up with it. Now, while my family, we didn't have dinner together, every day of the week, Sundays was dedicated dinner together. Every Sunday was dedicated dinner together unless something drastic happened or other things were planned. For me now, I try to have dinner with my kids at least 3 times a week. I really do try. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. But we do try. But understand, it's critical to do the work now while your children are still young. And it can feel overwhelming. But the impact of healing can change the trajectory of their lives in ways you can't even imagine. And as hard as it is to accept, you need to let go of the guilt that comes from past mistakes. Because you're evolving and you're growing, and that's the kind of parent they need. Holding on to guilt will keep you stuck. It will. It will keep you stuck. Now, I've had conversations with my mother in regards to, how I was raised. And millennials, I feel like we were all raised the same way. And that's why we are the way that we are now. I feel like all of us experienced the same things in our childhood from our parents. And one thing that my mom said to me is that, she did the best that she could with what she had. So it's like what she learned from her mother is what she passed down and did, for me and my brother. And my mom acknowledges that it wasn't the best way to do it. And now that she is older, she knows better. And she has apologized for her parenting style back then. And it's funny because we all talk about how our parents are with our grandkids, like they're soft. They got McDonald's money for our kids, right? It's okay if they do something in the house. It's not that big of a deal. They go all out for them. They're catering to them. And we're like, who are you? Like, who are you and what have you done with my parent? Because this is not how you treated me. That's not how you treated me. But again, You become a parent. You watch your kids grow. You look back on your mistakes. You look back on things you could have done better. You acknowledge it. You acknowledge it. And you say, you know what? We're doing better. We're doing good. And that's all that matters. So I have some reflection questions I like for you guys to take the time out and think about. Write it down in your notes. Write it down in a journal. And if you want, send me your answers to this. And I'll talk about it in another episode. So here they are. What is one thing from your childhood you don't want to pass down? What is one thing from your childhood that's positive that you want to carry forward? How can you give yourself more grace in moments when your past and present collide? I want you to reflect on those 3 questions. And again, write your answer down. And if you'd like to share with me, please do. Send me a DM, send me an email, send me a text, and I will discuss it in a future episode. I also have an affirmation for today that I would like to leave you with. I am not my past. I am building something new for myself and my children, one choice at a time. So, Mama, healing while parenting is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But it's also one of the most powerful. You're proof that cycles can be broken, that new patterns can be built, and that love can look different from what you knew. Until next time, take it one breath, one day, and one choice at a time.